What's up, Shotgun Shogun? Just waiting for some more people to come into the chat. I know this wasn't a scheduled live stream, and I did that on purpose. I knew I was gonna go live at this time, on this day, talking about this topic. And it says I have 14 viewers. Please let your presence be known by typing something into the chat. Hey, what's going on, Ashton? Studio Mansion, when you're trying to say what's up and it came out what's upper. Oh, okay. He said you multitask. I don't know why the letters on the screen are coming up that big. I think I might have mistakenly made the text box too big, and that's why the letters are coming up that size. But whatever. Yeah, I said I was going to talk about this in the form of a live stream because it was too much for me. It was too much to discuss in a condensed video. You know, one thing that I hate the fact that I have over 27,000 subscribers, but my live streams be like really low. Like as far as views go, like when I was doing live streams on my original channel, when I had way less subscribers, I would be cracking 200 easily. But now that I have more, it seems like they get low. I don't know if they don't send out the notifications or what. Because then people say, oh, I missed it. Like I get those comments all the time. People will leave in the chat, oh, I missed it. See, perfect example. Versatile Legacy said they didn't get it. Hey, what's going on, Kendra? Oh, I already know. But you would think that with if you would let's put it this way, you would think that someone who has 19 people viewing their channel that they would have a very low subscriber count, not somebody who has 27,200 something. Now it's funny because it seems like the notifications can sometimes go out on the videos, but when it comes to the live stream, that's when they don't go out. But you know, if I talked about it in a couple of live streams ago, YouTube and the Google Hangouts is separating. I think that they are dissolving their partnership. I think YouTube and Google might be slowly but surely dissolving their partnership from each other. You said your favorite video from last week was that white on white crime at the baseball game. I got a lot of feedback from that video, mainly because a lot of people didn't know about it, didn't know it existed. But how was everybody's week? Mine was good. I had to take off today because I had a long day at work last night. I had to work a J Lo concert, so you know how that goes. All the Ricans came out the party last night, and for some strange reason, it was two of them again, just like the last time. Two women again who can't seem to grasp uh basic instructions. So basically, what happened is I was directing these individuals to their seats as usual, like I usually do. And I tell them to go up to row K. They sit in every other row but row K. And in the wrong seats in those rows. So when the people come there and they're like looking and they're trying to tell them, oh, these are our seats, they come and get me, and I'm like, oh God. One thing in the position that I hate is when I have to go deal with insubordinate customers. Because that means I got to move out of my position that I'm comfortable in to go and deal with foolishness. And then on top of that, last night I had to deal with people who had thick language barriers. Like, I swear, some of the people I came in contact with last night should have came with closed captioning. I mean, they went to row G, then they sat in the row behind it. And I'm like, the letters are on the floor. How do you not know your letters? The numbers are on the seat. So they ended up having to move twice because guess what they did? Right after that, they went from row G and went right to row H, the row right behind it. I'm like, oh my goodness, are you serious? So I had to go back up there again because some people, they were in somebody else's seat. I said, you're in row K. I had to almost talk to them like they were children. I said, this is row H. You're in row K. I don't know how you got G and H from K. I don't know how they possibly did that. But I'm glad that this happened while the lights were on. One of the worst things that can happen is when you have to rearrange people who are in the wrong seats when the lights are out. That is the worst thing ever. Versatile Legacy said the last update you got me from was a Kamala video. Well, that was the last video I uploaded before I started this stream. So you probably got if that was the one you're talking about, then yeah. Because I did one about her and Elizabeth Warren last night, so I'm going to assume that you're talking about the video that I did today that I uploaded at 5. But yeah, just another day, at that job. But yeah, I definitely was. I was always going to talk about this topic right here that you see. You see, that's the thing. They give out it seems like they give out the notifications for the pre-recorded videos, but never for the live streams. And it shows. It says I have 24 viewers right now. That mean, and the thing is, I sent out. That's why I always have to post things on my Twitter account and on various platforms that I'm on, just so people can get it, and if they want to watch. That's why when people say they didn't see it, it's because YouTube doesn't send out the notifications like they're supposed to. Like, it's 8:12. Most people are off. But anyway, we'll just deal with what we have. And see, the thing is, that's another reason why y'all have to click that like button when you come in here. Because when you click that like button, you're engaging. It actually pushes the stream to actually be seen. I don't know what it is, but I've been on YouTube so-called hit list for a minute now, so it is what it is. But yeah, as far as this topic goes, I'm not in the least bit surprised that the outcome was what it was. I mean, this happened 5 years ago. It's amazing 5 years has gone so fast. What's going on, Poetic Kells? It's amazing how fast 5 years has just come and gone. Just like in a blink of an eye. We all remember what happened. We all know and saw what happened. We all know what should have happened. But again, that wasn't the case. And it doesn't surprise me either because it's the NYPD. The NYPD is one of many shady police departments. Definitely in the top 5. Definitely from a long laundry list of shady dealings as far as people are concerned. So, as you all know, Daniel Pantaleo, and I'm going to get to him because I haven't read one article since it got out there that that they were not going to put any charges on him. Like, when that happened, I was so heated. That's why I didn't do a video about it immediately, because I needed to gather my thoughts. I said I needed to let my spirit rest a little bit before I talk about this. That's why I didn't talk about it right away. So Daniel Pantaleo, the pig that put Eric Garner in that illegal chokehold, keyword there was illegal, had no charges, put against him. No charges whatsoever. They didn't even go to trial. So there's not like he was found guilty or not guilty of anything. There was no trial. Now, what I'm gonna do is, and it's funny because right before I started this live stream, I had got a notification because I have the Yahoo News app on my phone, and they sent me a notification talking about Daniel Pantaleo. I kid you not, like literally minutes ago, talking about it. And I'm gonna read what it says. It says, "Officer avoids charges in Eric Garner's death. Federal prosecutors on Tuesday announced they would not pursue civil rights charges against the white New York City police officer who used a chokehold that left, it should have said a legal chokehold because that's what it was, that led to the death of Eric Garner in 2014. The officer, Daniel Pantaleo, was attempting to arrest Garner, a black man, on suspicion of selling cigarettes on a street corner when he used a banned chokehold as he and other officers wrestled Garner to the ground." Now, that whole thing about the Lucy's, the cigarettes, that was a false story. That was a false narrative that they took and they ran with. The truth of the matter is, Eric Garner was breaking up a fight. But see, that's not the first time Eric Garner has had an encounter with the NYPD. Like, I've heard so many stories even before what happened to him that they used to stay messing with him all the time. So they literally had him in their crosshairs. It's just that this time they actually took out their target. And people around the community always said how nice of a guy this was. He was pretty much a staple in the community. Everybody knew who he was. He was never a troublemaker. He was a family man. He had children. And I felt bad because his daughter, literally to her last breath, fought to get justice for her dad, and she died, and still nothing happened. Could you imagine if his daughter was alive today and had to hear this news? Like, that's the saddest part about the whole thing. She died back, I think, in December of 2017. Like, she fought to the end to try to get justice for her dad. Well, Treehouse, I'm not yelling Black Lives Matter because that's a very compromised organization. Everybody knows that. In essence, it should mean what it should, but that's a very compromised organization. But anyway, let me continue reading this. He says, Garner can be heard on video saying, "I can't breathe," 11 times while laying face down on the sidewalk. Pantaleo continues to work with the department but was moved to desk duty. Now, that's the part right there that literally got me. In case y'all did not know, Daniel Pantaleo was never fired from the NYPD after this happened. He wasn't even transferred to another department. He stayed in the same department but was just taken off of street duty. He was put to desk duty, and he has been there for the last 5 years. And and I don't know how true this is, but I saw it on Twitter where it has stated that Daniel Pantaleo has literally racked up, since that happened, $120,000. Now, I don't know if all of that is coming from his paycheck or if people gave him donations, but I heard that he racked up around that range as far as money is concerned since that happened. Basically, Treehouse, he was basically chilling for 5 years. He just had to be on desk duty because of the charges against him. But now that the charges have been dropped and there's nothing against him, he's now able to go back to being a street cop. So now he can go and terrorize somebody else. This is almost reminding me of Betty Shelby. Like, that woman got so many advancements after she killed Terrence Crutcher, it's not even funny. It says the phrase "I can't breathe" became a rallying cry for activists protesting police violence against black people. T-shirts featuring the phrase were worn by a number of prominent celebrities and athletes, including LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. The Black Lives Matter movement would become a national flashpoint a month after Garner's death following the fatal shooting of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Now, I'm going to tell you why I have an issue with Black Lives Matter. In its essence, like I said, it was a good little movement. But then when you dig a little bit deeper and you find out that what their alternative motives was or their agenda, it's like y'all started Black Lives Matter off of the death of not one but two black male bodies, but then have the nerve to not even include heterosexual black men as the people you're fighting for in your mission statement on your website. On their website, they only talk about black children, black women, and the black LGBT. Nowhere on there do they talk about heterosexual men. That's why I have an issue with that organization, and that's why I say that organization is compromised. They used two black male bodies to create their organization, only to not include the type of men that were killed as far as who they want to fight for. Listen, as someone who is well connected to social media, I've seen all kinds of comments where people say, especially, and I have to say it, black women will say, well, I'm not going to stand on the front lines, or I'm not going to fight for him, and I'm not going to do this. Well, guess what? We didn't ask you to do that. To be honest, many of you are just hurting your feet anyway, because even with all that protesting, stuff still is continuing to happen. So why bother? And I bet many of them will do all that marching and all that yelling and not once pick up a firearm. I bet you not one of them knows how to even load a gun or never even held a gun. But they got all this mouth as if that's going to actually change something. This is not the 60s. You think that saying, oh, we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that is going to somehow hurt our feelings? It's not. But let me continue with this. A local grand jury had previously declined to pursue criminal charges against Pantaleo and his fellow officers for their role in Garner's death. Tuesday was the last opportunity for federal authorities to charge Pantaleo with violating Garner's civil rights before the 5-year statute of limitations. Attorney General William Barr reportedly overruled members of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice to make the final decision not to pursue charges. Why am I not surprised that he overruled that? And notice it said right before the statute of limitations was up. Like they literally waited almost to the last minute to do this. The decision not to pursue charges led to an intense reaction from activists, particularly Garner's family members. Today we can't breathe, said his mother, Gwen Carr. The lack of legal repercussions for Pantaleo sends a message that police officers are above the law and that the lives of black people don't matter. There is also anger over the fact that Pantaleo has been able to remain employed with the NYPD for the past 5 years. Don't apologize to me. Fire the officer, Garner's daughter Emerald Snipes shouted from the courthouse steps after hearing the Justice Department's decision. Others argue that the decision not to press charges was correct because it was unlikely federal prosecutors could meet the high standard of proof required to convict Pantaleo. Now, you know what's so crazy? We already know what type of people actually agreed with that. The colonizer and their cohorts, the ones who aren't white that kiss, that bend the knee and all types of stuff. We know that's the ones who are actually the ones saying that. It's amazing how they want just they only like it when it works in their favor, which is all the time. But if there's a chance that it could ever work for us, then they got to come up with all these stipulations why it shouldn't. They said a not guilty verdict after a prolonged trial, they say, would have been more controversial and may have led to more violent protests. That's what they were worried about. So they were worried about there being violent protests if there had been a trial, and there was a chance that he would be. Well, in this case, the fact that they even dropped all these charges lets us know that that even if they went to trial, he would have been found not guilty. It says the NYPD recently completed a disciplinary hearing into Pantalio's actions that could lead to suspension or termination. Notice it said could. That's not definite. The department said it is still deliberating the matter, and the actions of the Department of Justice will not influence its decision. They like to lie a lot. Let's see here. It says Garner's family said they will continue to fight for justice. A lawyer representing the family said they will attempt to revive the federal case against Pantaleo under the next presidential administration. All I can say is good luck with that. Make no mistake about it, we're going to still push, Garner's mother said. You can push back, but we're pushing forward because this is not the end. It says the system was never meant to protect us, and while we should continue to make demands of district attorneys in the Department of Justice, we should also aim to overhaul and rebuild our justice system into one that is no longer relies on a bloated police state that targets the black community. And that's exactly what we're kind of living in right now when you think about it. We are living in a police state right now. I've done so many videos that literally will say that. Like I said, you have people out here that actually think Daniel Pantaleo did the right thing. And like I said, I'm reading this on Yahoo. I already looked through some of the comments, and you already know how Yahoo gets down. It says a range of politicians, or as I like to call them, politicians, and law enforcement officials in both parties at both the state and local levels spent years non-pursuing the Garner case. It would be simplistic and not really accurate to make it about Barr, journalist Matt I can't pronounce his name, said on Twitter. The key words there says spent years non-pursuing. That means that this is a case that, as widespread as it had got, as big as the story had became, they literally put it on the back burner like it was just a petty theft incident. Like it meant absolutely nothing to them. And I see y'all in the chat saying if Eric Garner had been white, then he would have been most likely found guilty. And you're right. You are absolutely right. It says, I guess my question is, at what point should we have expected a trained law enforcement officer not to be afraid still while he has a citizen in a chokehold? Was he still afraid the first time Eric Garner said, I can't breathe? And by the way, also in that video, Daniel Pantaleo, while Eric Garner was screaming out that he can't breathe, wasn't he the same one that said, fuck your breathing or something like that? Or was that the other one down in Louisiana? It was one of the two. Then they said, how about the second time? How about when Eric Garner blacked out? Was the officer still afraid, or was that a misperception? Or perhaps poor judgment? How about seconds before the officer killed Eric Garner? Was that a mistake? Jesus, some people will believe anything. Charles Pierce from Esquire. It says communities throughout the country continue to see black men brutalized at the hand of police without consequence or recourse. This does nothing but further the racial divide and lead to ongoing mistrust between communities and law enforcement. The Justice Department decision makes this divide even deeper. Now, what I'm doing is I'm reading various quotes from the people who work for different publications in their reactions to this news. If prosecutors bring a case when they have relatively little chance of conviction, the effect on the defendant deserves consideration. The experience of being charged with a crime and being prosecuted is an enormous burden. Now, this is somebody who's on the side of Daniel Pantaleo. You can tell how it's by the way they are talking in just the first sentence. It says, according to this argument, an individual who has not committed a crime should not be subjected to the burden of prosecution in order to serve the public interest in discouraging other crimes. So basically, this guy is saying that Daniel Pantaleo didn't do anything wrong. In a nutshell, that's what they're saying. It says, Barr's decision is the right one. Our justice system sets high legal standards that must be maintained. That's another person that's on the side of the pig. Given the facts of the case, it's hard to see his continued employment by the police department as anything but an insult to the people of New York. It says the decision highlights the urgent need to reform the federal criminal law governing excessive force. Congress needs to do away with the requirement of proof that officers have acted willfully when they use excessive force. The only reason a lot of those palm colors talk the way that they do is because it's not happening to them. So it's no way that they could possibly understand or even begin to sympathize or even empathize with our plight. And to be honest, I don't want them to be quite honest. Because I don't empathize or sympathize with their plight, i.e. those opioids, those low birth rates, and those mass shootings. And a host of other things too as well. But those are the top three for me. But it's amazing how mainstream media ran with that narrative of him selling loose cigarettes when that wasn't even the whole story. That was not even the whole story. Of course, it makes no sense. A lot of the stuff that they say don't make no sense. Not to switch gears. Let me switch gears a little bit right quick. I'm going to come right back. There was this discussion, and shout out to True Royal Family because she talked about it on her channel, where you had all the, I think it was like 6 white women that they were talking to, and they were staunch Trump supporters talking about how they like Trump and all types of stuff like that. They are 6 out of the 50+% of white women that voted for him, and probably going to be the 6 out of the 50+% that's going to vote for him again next year. Talking about how Donald Trump isn't a racist. Talking about the whole thing that's going on with those congresswomen, those women in Congress right now, and then tried to use the whole, well, they don't like white people. Doesn't that make them racist? Nowhere in their statement did they say that they didn't like white people. They just said that Donald Trump was a racist. It's amazing how they love to throw themselves into the victim category. Now, I've already talked about Eric Garner. I talked about Daniel Pantaleo, unfortunately. But I want to talk about another person. One that rarely ever gets discussed with this whole situation, but definitely should be talked about more, because if it wasn't for him, we would have never seen the video. And that is Ramsey Order. You can see his picture right there at the bottom, and the third picture at the bottom. He was the guy that, of course, if you don't know, was the one that recorded the incident, and his video is the one that went viral. Like, you know, that's how we all saw it. So after that video went out, they got a hold of him, and they brought up these trumped up charges against him, because I think he might have had a record from years ago, from, you know, it had nothing to do with the case, and ended up locking him up in jail. And I think it's because he would not give them the video or something like that. And I think that's probably why they did it. But they ended up locking him up in jail, and just for dumb reasons. I heard that he didn't even eat the food that was in prison because he feared that they were going to poison him. That's what he had feared, that they were going to poison him and try to kill him. And I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Now, what I have heard recently is that he is still in jail. Like they said, he's not going to be able to get out until December. Now, you have to sit back and ponder this. So you mean to tell me that you can bring up trumped up charges against the guy that recorded this incident, put him in jail for whatever, but the guy that actually killed the victim is not in jail? Now, this goes back to a narrative that they are trying to outlaw witnesses from recording police interactions with other citizens. What you are looking at is a catalyst for what's to come, where if you record a police officer engaging in activity that they should not, that you can get arrested and thrown in jail. They are trying to make this a law. The fact that they're doing that lets you know what they are on, what they are about. They move and operate like a gang. I think about it. They call it the Fraternal Order of the Police. There was a video that Seiji Hito just did where this police department had the Blue Lives Matter flag, which is that American flag, but it's in like a gray, white, black, and blue color scheme. And they took the Punisher logo. For those of you who do not know, the Punisher is a well-known Marvel character, a vigilante that's known for going around killing people to get answers and get justice. They took the Blue Lives Matter logo or flag, combined it with the Punisher logo, and put it on the hood of their police cruisers. Now, what kind of a message does that send out to the community? And they were just fine with that. They thought that that was just a-okay to do. And probably thought that they were not going to get any pushback from doing it. They got put on full blast for it, and rightfully so. But at the same time, they showed their hand. They exposed themselves for what they truly are and for what we have always known them to be. Because you know what I would have did? If I worked for Marvel, I would have sued that department for attaching a logo that's attached to my brand for your own personal pleasure. Because I'm almost certain the people over at Marvel did not give them the permission to use that logo on the hood of their police cruiser and combine it with that Blue Lives Matter flag. Ashen, they sure act like the Punisher. I don't know if y'all caught it, but in the first Transformers movie, there was one of the Transformers, one of the Decepticons. It was one of the first Decepticons that you saw. He was disguised as a police cruiser. And you know how on the side of the car it says to protect and serve? Well, on the side of that car, it said to destroy and enslave. And this movie came out in 2007. If y'all don't believe me, y'all can go and look it up. And it took the shape of a police cruiser. And it was a Decepticon. And the Decepticons are the bad guys. Right, Anthony? 2007, 12 years ago. When I first saw that movie, I picked that up instantly. I noticed that instantly. Some people didn't catch it, but you can go online and look at the image and it's right there. So when I see that they put that Punisher logo on that car, they're telling you who they are. and how they prefer to act. Many of them, if they had the opportunity to act like the Punisher, if they could act like Frank Castle and get away with it, even though many of them have been getting away with it. But when I say getting away with it, I mean really getting away with it without any kind of backlash or uproar. They most definitely would. Space 420 said it was a LA black and white police cruiser and his name was Roadblock. I kept forgetting his name. I wanted to call him Motorcade for some reason, or Blockade or something like that, but I kept I could never remember his name, but I remember that quote on the side of the car. Well, Daryl Field, if you can find some black people out there that can shoot lightning out of their body, or someone who can have impenetrable skin, hey, see if you can find a way to clone them. But yeah, back to Ramsey Orta. He's locked up in jail for recording. Because see, what they're saying is this was not supposed to go viral. Even though it was done in a public setting. It was done outside of a barbershop where many people frequent on a hot summer day, even whether or not they're going to use their services or not. And in New York, and I'm not from New York, in New York during the summer, everybody's outside. But they don't want to talk about the fact that he was just breaking up a fight. They want to just talk about that he was selling loose cigarettes. As if that's another reason to kill somebody. Like, they actually tried to say him selling loose cigarettes is the reason why he ended up in that chokehold and the reason why he died. That was America, and that's spelled Ameri, capital K, capital K, capital K, A, telling you that. Oh, he was selling loose cigarettes. We gotta kill this nigger. He's such a threat to the community. Even though that's not what he was doing. And like I said, that's not the first time that they've messed with him. So they knew who he was. He's literally always been harassed by them. He stood out like a sore thumb. Like, we saw how Eric Garner looked. He was no frail man. He was a big dude. He stood out in a crowd. And Daniel Pantaleo must have felt like like Napoleon that day, because he was able to put him in a chokehold that killed him. And I bet you he goes to sleep at night with a smile on his face, knowing he literally got away with murder. Well, his image is out there, and to be honest, I don't think there's really any place he could hide. They'll probably try to put him in protective custody, though. But everybody knows what he looks like. And as far as I know, he's still in New York. And what's so interesting as well is they only went after Daniel Pantaleo. He was not the only one who was aiding in Eric Garner's death. It was a group of officers there. It took all of them to bring him down. But Daniel Pantaleo, excuse me, was the one who had his arm around Eric Garner's neck. They didn't bring up any charges against the people who was there pulling him down. It took all of them. And I can't remember how many was there, but it was a lot of them. Yeah, Treehouse, it was like 5 or 6 of them. Had to bring him down, but Daniel Pantaleo was the one who strangled him to death. And when you look at how he was holding him, that was hard to watch. He held him in one of those chokeholds that you see wrestlers do. But like I said, NYPD is top 5 most dirtiest police departments in America and probably on the planet. So you have one man who's dead, one who's walking away from this scot-free, and another in jail because he recorded it. This is an upside down, backwards society we live in. But it's the society that Palm Colored designed. But we have the nerve to believe that they are the pinnacle of morality. We have the nerve to believe that they are all what's right in the world. I just would like to know, how does 10% of a people globally manage to wreak this much havoc in such a short amount of time? Sure, y'all see, I remember Sean Bell. They didn't. That's a whole nother flesh wound right there. That whole Sean Bell story. I remember that. I was 17 when that happened. It happened back in 2006, the day before his wedding. Coming out of his bachelor party. Can you imagine what his wife and his daughter had to go through, knowing that she's getting ready to walk down the aisle to be with the man of her dreams, only to find out that those cops shot him up like he was a target in the range. Literally the morning of, because I think it was the morning of the wedding. And not one of those pigs went to jail. That was almost an instant open and shut case, because I don't even think the trial was that long. So this woman lost her future husband, who was literally hours away from being his wife. His daughter lost her father. His daughter at the time, I think, was just a toddler. She's now most likely a teenager. Someone else, you said yes, Amadou Diallo, also in New York. So y'all see where I'm going with this? Oh, Central Park 5, another perfect example. Now y'all see why I say the NYPD show shady? Akai Gurley. And the person who was over that case, what's his name? The one that died? The one that let Peter Liang get off? Because he wanted to get reelected. He didn't even make it to the election because he died from an illness. Talk about instant karma. A co-colonizing cohort. Killed that man in a stairwell. And that was an Asian cop that did it. I've never seen so many Asians come out at one time when that happened. Until that day. They came out in droves. That was literally probably every Asian that lived in the establishment. They all came on code to plead to get that killer off after he killed a black man. That should have let black people know without the shadow of a doubt how them Asians get down. But nah, you still got to go to their carryouts. You still got to go to their beauty supply stores. You still got to go get your nails done by them. You still got to go buy your hair from them. Now, just imagine if black people was to come out in droves and do something like that, what they did. Oh, they would be having the National Guard up. Notice they didn't call the National Guard for them. Now, like I said, every case that I just talked about all happened in New York. And every last case involved a cop. In every last case, all the cops got off. Whether the victim died or they were just victimized. Now, tell me that NYPD is not shady. I really don't know what it's going to take. I don't know if black people are fed up enough with the foolishness. We will see what happens with that election next year. The best thing that you can do right now at this point, because it seems like they're not getting the message, is just to stay away from a lot of their institutions as much as you possibly can. Most definitely get to the range. Support your own. Because they're not letting their foot off the gas. They are literally at the end of their rope. And they are in panic mode. And whenever you end up in panic mode, you are liable to do just about any and everything. Now let's not also forget what's going on right now in New York. They just passed a law that is allowing illegal immigrants to get a driver's license. I just did a video about that. They're doing this for votes, but at the same time, they're doing it at the expense of people that were born here. That's why it kills me and it grinds my gears when I see ADOS people, Black Americans, Foundation Americans, African American, however you want to put it, literally try to toe the line for illegal immigrants. I say, you do know that they're trying to replace you. As a matter of fact, I'll rephrase that. They are replacing you. It's gone past the part of they're trying to. They are. But some of us are still not getting it. And maybe that's the con to us being fully human. Because a full human being is really compassionate about everyone despite their faults. It's a pro and a con. But for the most part, it's always been a con for us because we are always expected to extend our arms out to everyone and give everyone a hug. But not only do we not get it in return, but we don't seek it either. And I'm talking about not from them. I'm talking about from our own. You right, Sister Toryak. They are trying to make up for the lost black vote with the immigrants. Notice how a lot of these politicians are not pandering to us like they used to. And I'm glad because I don't like fake and phony. I can see right through their little act. They not slick. And I hope that they lose next year. Now, this is not me, and I have to always give this disclaimer because every time I say something against the Democrats in a tone like what I just said it in, you always going to have some people, well, do you want Donald Trump in office? No, I don't want him in office, but I don't want them in it either. It's like y'all hear them say they can literally walk up to you and say, I like black people, and y'all be ready to run out there and cast your vote for them. I'm like, it was that easy? There's a term that I heard years ago, and that term is, if it's easy, it's sleazy. And there's a lot of sleaze bags that are politicians. And don't be swayed by people like Candace Owens, the Coonstress, or Brandon Tatum, or anyone like that. Because what they'll do is they'll see that we are hopping off of the democratic plantation and then try to sway us over to their conservative whatever coon fest. They no good for us either. The best thing you could do is ignore them both, because neither one of them have done anything for us. And I do mean specifically for us, not that people of color crap. That's another way they try to be getting people. They try to get you on that people of color thing, that POC thing. We know what they mean. And if it was to include us, we would be dead last. We would get the crumbs. If the rats didn't get to it before we did. But they not slick. I'm on to their little game. But yeah, I'm sorry I went off on a tangent. I went completely off topic, but I just had to get that off of my chest. But yeah, this entire situation with Eric Garner and Daniel Pantaleo and Ramsey Orta is just it's a mess. It's one big gigantic mess. And probably one of the worst mishandlings of a case I have ever seen in my life. Now, just because I said it's one of the worst mishandlings of a case doesn't mean I'm surprised that it happened. It just means what I said. It's one of the worst mishandlings of a case I've ever seen in my life. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to open the phone line up or whatever, because last time I did it, only one person called in. You right, Triasimo Sanders is full of it. Or her linebacker built self. Yeah, but it's wild. It's it's ridiculous. It's amazing that we are still here, considering all the stuff that we as a people have been through centuries and still continue to go through. It probably shocked some historians as well. They probably thought we should have been gone the way of the Native Americans. That's probably what they intended, but that didn't happen. But what's so sad and upsetting about this whole thing is when you tell people about you're not going to vote or anything like that, they'll try to shame you for it. I'm like, you're going to shame me for actually listening to what these politicians actually said or researching their background? But the only thing they like to talk about, well, we got to get Donald Trump out of office. I hate to break it to you, but I'm going to predict this now. 45 is most likely getting reelected. Sorry to break it to you, but it most likely is going to happen. And it won't be because of our doing. It's going to probably have the same exact turnout as it did back in 2016. Trust me, I don't. You think I actually want him in there? If I did, I would have voted for him the first time. But I didn't vote for anybody. Because like I said, y'all are voting for people that want to do for others and not for you. You want to vote for people that are putting immigrants first, illegal immigrants before you. When we say that they don't want to listen to us when it comes to reparations and tangibles and stuff like that, we meant it. This is our chance to prove to them once and for all that we could be united, as we could be a unit. We could literally shock the establishment next year. But the question is are you willing to do that? Because they're pandering hard and they're expecting you to turn up and turn out. Don't give them the satisfaction. Just because they say they got hot sauce in their swag bag, Hillary Clinton, doesn't mean she's down with you. Remember, she called black boys super predators. Just because Bill Clinton played a saxophone on Arsenio doesn't mean he's down with black people. He created the 3 strikes law. And a current candidate helped with that. Joe Jim Crow Biden, former president to 44. I'm sorry, former vice president to 44. Well, Deckman 99, you do what you have to do. But I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to work. If you don't have those electoral votes, the 250 for that, it won't mean much. Look at what happened with the last election. Hillary had the popular vote and still lost. And what's so sad about it is you had some people try to actually blame black men as to why Hillary Clinton lost. But I'm like, if you look at those exit numbers, white men led, white women was a close second. Then you had Hispanic and Latinos. And by the way, it's funny you had Hispanic and Latinos come number 3 for Trump. And he's trying to deport them. How about that? And besides, everyone knows that the national election is the one that really doesn't really count like that. You said, did I see the video of Obama visiting young black teenagers trying to sway future voters? I wouldn't be surprised. But guess what? August Dreams. He was also the same guy that called the people in Baltimore after the Freddie Gray incident thugs. Oh, and speaking of Hispanics, to go back to last night, that was something else that I saw. So for those of y'all who came late in the chat, last night I worked the J-Lo concert. So it was a lot of Puerto Ricans out there. And it was one guy and I'm guessing that was his wife, came to my section. And the guy had on a red Make America Great Again hat. That was the first thing I noticed about him when he walked in. But his wife was a Latina. Y'all cannot tell me that they don't do any bed wenching over there. I just gave you an example right there. And I bet you she voted for Trump. If she voted. You said, so what if the Democrats win? Then it's going to be the same old crap that we dealt with under 44. To be honest, 44 was more of our wake-up call than 45 was. 45 was more of a wake-up call for the Latino community. As you can see, he's trying to, get them up out of here. That's actually the one best thing that he has come up with. because I've done a couple of videos talking about the illegal immigrants, and like they literally are letting them get away with anything. In California, they can get health care without really having to apply for it. In New York, they can get a driver's license. This is all a political move. They need the votes. Oh yeah, sister Toya, he did, especially in that first term, because we all fell in love with the sensationalism. You know, in historical ways of how can I put it? The historical part of it. You have a new face in there besides the palm color ones that you've been seeing. But to be honest, he's been acting like them. After all, look at who raised them. Deckman99 says you fantasizing for a perfect candidate is no. I know there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. That's why I'm not voting for either one. It is what it for me. What y'all have to understand is if they do not speak to our interests, I could care less who gets there. They literally have said that they're not going to do anything for us, so we're not going to do anything for them. So if they don't get into office, so be it. That'll be their fault. Oh, listen, it's time for us to throw it back in their face. They always like to throw stuff at us. We're going to push back. We're going to say, no, it's your fault. If you listened and took us seriously, you probably would have had a chance of winning. But no, you pussyfooted. You took us as a joke. Well, now the joke is on you. You played yourself. There. Let's be petty for once. As a collective. I have no problem with that. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. Mark my words, on this day, on July 18, 2019, 9:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If the Democrats lose the election next year, I'm going to do one of the best Petty Pendergrass productions you will ever see on my channel. And I mean that. I might even live stream it. Because they think we playing. And we're not. I remember when 45 got elected back in 2016. Those of you who were around on my channel then, I went and found this Tumblr account where it was talking about where they were regretting voting for Trump. It was mostly white people that was writing in there, and it was a list of tweets. And I went through most of them. Those of you who were around then know exactly what video I was talking about. I was having a good old laugh with that video too. I even said then that the people who voted for Trump, y'all are going to regret this. It's not going to be today, tomorrow, next week, or whatever, but it's going to catch on. I felt like a prophet because look at what's going on now. Trump is what you would call a necessary evil. Evil as all hell, but very necessary. Like I think he was put in position to shake up the establishment. New York State of Mind says, I hate Torian. Heard the left was trying to hoard illegals in the DMV area as well. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. And to those of them who are hoarding them, good luck trying to beat those charges. It's funny that whenever we brought up reparations and tangibles, that they took us as a joke, but then it went mainstream and now they want to talk about it, but they still pussyfoot around with it. Okay, you said many people want Trump impeached, but I don't know if it's not going to happen. Many people who want Trump to be impeached don't even know what the process takes to get a president impeached. He'd have to do something besides get on Twitter and rant all day. He would have to do something that literally jeopardizes the American people as a collective. He'd have to do something like what Tricky Dick Nixon did back in the 70s with Watergate. Many people only want Trump impeached because he gets on their nerves or he hurts their feelings. And I'm saying this as a person that doesn't like Trump. But I'm speaking as a person who's a realist. He has to commit a major crime to get impeached. Shoot, infidelity won't even do it. Look at Bill Clinton. He slept with Monica Lewinsky and they tried to impeach him for that and he didn't get impeached. He almost did, but the topic came up, but it didn't happen. But you also got to know this as well. Trump has handlers like every other president. He's not the end all be all. There's people above him pulling the strings. He is merely the face. He's only doing what his handlers want him to do. You think Trump actually wants to be president? He even said out of his own mouth that he was shocked that he won. Your State of Mind says Trump went to Epstein Island as well. And I'm sure he wasn't the only one that went either. And you know what? If they was to get Trump for going to Jeffrey Epstein's island, guess what would happen? He would sing like a canary and then start dropping all kinds of names. Now that would be bold. I would sit front row with popcorn in hand to see that, to hear that. He said Trump supporters want Trump. He said they want him to be president beyond 2 terms. I'm sure they do, but you can't in life. You can't get everything you want. He said now he has his supporters chanting they've been doing that. They've been doing that going back to Make America Great Again. And that's what, 3 years ago now? Kim, you said at least Trump is an open white supremacist, unlike those Democrats. Yeah, I've always said this. I like my racists out in the open. I don't want to scoop or dig for them. I need to know that they are who they claim to be. I like you out in the open. Now I know who I'm dealing with. But those of you like those Democrats or those demon craps that you gotta figure out, are they or aren't they? Oh, I have no doubt in my mind, Treehouse, that Epstein is gonna get off. Kevin. And I'm gonna be honest. I did a video about this already, but I'll talk about it here. But I'm gonna still upload the video. Do y'all want to know why Kevin Spacey got off? Y'all want to know why? In case y'all didn't know, do y'all want to know why Kevin Spacey is not going to jail or not going to trial right now? And for those of you who are subscribed to me, should already know because I talked about it. Those of you who are subscribed to Your World, formerly known as Mr. Superboy, should know if you watched his video because he talked about it. It has nothing to do with him being white. If y'all remember, a couple weeks ago, I did a video talking about the Kevin Spacey thing. And A whole bunch of receipts came out from the alleged victim. Basically, in a nutshell, this alleged victim was only doing this to get money and attention. There was no proof that that Kevin Spacey did what he claimed to do. They recovered all these text messages that he was saying that he was literally plotting to get money. Basically, the guy was an extortionist. He basically tried to do what Michael Jackson's alleged victims tried to do to him. When that came out and they said that he got paid, I knew that all those charges was eventually going to fall. In other words, they didn't have a strong case after that came out. Like, his attorneys pretty much threw their hands up and probably flipped the table and said, you just wasted our time and money. If y'all don't believe me, go back and look at that video. I did it like 2 weeks ago, and I read everything for the most part that came out about that. So it has nothing to do with Kevin Spacey being white or anything like that. Now, don't get me wrong. Kevin Spacey is still a creepy dude. No doubt about it. But I'm just stating the facts. The guy was basically an extortionist. And he tried to get money. And he got exposed. Now, I will say this, had this been a case where it was a black person, they would have probably tried to stretch that. Or they would have tried to dig to see if they would have found more quote unquote victims to have them hemmed up. Listen, I don't listen. You know when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, they gonna keep that under wraps. A lot of it. I mean, there's no wonder that they're bringing up R. Kelly with the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. But what I thought was extremely shady was the fact that the daggone Emmys actually nominated not only that surviving R. Kelly crap, but that Leaving Neverland thing as well. They actually got nominated for Emmys. I think Nicole talked about that on Nicole's View. She talked about that. Oh, Gemini, I stayed on that Keith Raniere, Allison Mack, Nexium sex cult thing. You know what's so crazy? I was actually shocked when I was at the gym today that they actually talked about Keith Raniere briefly on this show. I forgot the name. I forgot what the show was. And they actually interviewed one of the women that I think they were trying to lure into it, but figured out that it wasn't what it was cracked up to be. Yes, Kata Lowell. Then the Emmys actually got the surviving R. Kelly and the Living Neverland fraudulementaries actually got an Emmy nomination for Best Documentary. And the scary part about it is, one of them might actually win. That's the scary part about it. But you know what's so crazy? Speaking of Keith Raniere and Lifetime and Allison Mack, instead of them doing a surviving Keith Raniere or surviving Nexium, which was the name of the cult, they give them a movie. Lifetime, which is owned by Disney, gives them a movie. Literally about 2 weeks after Keith Raniere is found guilty. The scary part about them actually winning is the fact that it's now set in stone, and then whenever it gets talked, because what will happen is if it wins, then they're going to bring it right back up, but now it's going to have a title in front of it. It's going to say Emmy award-winning documentary so-and-so. But they wanted to trash Nate Parker's film Birth of a Nation, because they could not have have a title of Golden Globe winner or Academy Award winner in front of a movie about Nat Turner. But they could nominate something where it shows us in a very subservient way or in a very negative light. Or in this case, a bunch of lies. Now, we know R. Kelly should have been dealt with, but he should have been dealt with a long time ago if you really wanted to have him be dealt with. And Michael Jackson, we all know that was a farce. Gayle and Oprah are probably munching on each other's carpets right now as we speak to even give a damn about doing a documentary on Jeffrey Epstein. If R. Kelly was at one of Jeffrey Epstein's parties, they would have been got him, because I bet you at Jeffrey Epstein's little party, most of the girls there were white, and all the people that R. Kelly dealt with were black. Of course, Gayle didn't interview him. I forgot who it was. I think it was Vicky Dillard over at Fly Nubian Queen that did some digging about Gayle King. She basically, the whole Charlie Rose thing. Gayle King and Charlie Rose used to be very close before he got fired. And they fired Charlie Rose because of basically some in-work discretions that were going on. But she didn't talk about him. But she had enough nerve to interview R. Kelly, and then when he snapped on her, they had people saying, "Oh my God, were you okay? Are you okay? Were you safe?" They made it seem like he was like the worst person on the planet when that interview happened. No, I didn't see that footage, but I'm willing to bet. Listen, Gemini, any guy that says on camera, grab him by the pussy, him just putting his hands all over them is a cakewalk for him. Think about it, saying grab him by the pussy or putting their hands somewhere. That if he was to do that, that wouldn't surprise me. The only reason Oprah Winfrey interviewed the Central Park Five, and believe it or not, the reason why it is because she was the executive producer of the When They See Us miniseries. Now I'm gonna be honest, they too got nominations. The When They See Us miniseries. If anybody should win, it definitely should be that. That was very good. I can honestly sit here and say that was one of the best things I've watched in 2019. I think the series itself got a nomination, and the actor who played Corey got a nomination, and I think both should win because it was very good. If y'all saw my review on it, I'd say I had the reason why I had to stop, and the reason why my eyes looked the way it did in when I was recording it, because I had just got done watching part 4, and I'm not even gonna lie, I just got done dropping some thug tears at the end of part 4, well, all throughout part 4. What's going on, True Royal family? I'm not even no. To be honest, I don't think that they got nominated because of Oprah's ties. They got nominated because the story, the series itself, was really good. I actually do believe they got nominated based on their merit. That was a deserved nomination. When it came out, people were saying how they deserved that nomination before the nominations even went out. And I'm glad they got nominated. And I hope that they win, because that was some strong acting. It was believable. You felt like you was there. What's going on, G Boot 2786? You said we got to do a telecast again. I'm confused. When did we do a first one? Unless I'm forgetting something. Oh, okay. Okay. See, I didn't know what your name because I was so used to seeing your actual name on the live stream, so that's why it kind of caught me off guard. Okay, but you know they about to get rid of Hangouts. They about to get rid of Google Hangouts. I think I think YouTube might be dissolving their partnership with YouTube slowly but surely. You know what's so funny? Somebody had told me that Obama had met with these black teenagers today, and someone just tagged me in a post on Twitter showing me that exact video, and I quickly got off of it because I don't want to see it. Well, to be honest, when YouTube first came out, they didn't do it for live stream. Live stream didn't come until much later when Google got a hold of it. But I think they just want to go back to people creating content and doing live streams. That's not really content based, to be quite honest. And now it's going to force people to actually be creative and see if they can carry a conversation by themselves. Like for me, I don't do many live streams. They're few and far in between. Some people are going to miss it, but I'm going to be honest, a lot of people abused it. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Like for me, it's not going to affect me. I figured out Streamlabs, which is what I'm streaming off of right now, and that got me in a position that when Hangouts go away, it is what it is. And the thing is, I've always had issues with Hangouts. I remember one time it was me, the one LVZ in Town Biz, and I got locked out of my own live stream while they were still on. I managed to get back in after about 10 minutes. I've never gotten locked out of here. Well, one time it did cut off, but I think that might have been on YouTube's end. And to be honest, I'm gonna ask y'all in the chat. Does anyone in the chat know how YouTube was founded? Like what? It was an incident that happened that caused YouTube to get founded in 2005. The event itself didn't happen in 2005. It actually happened in 2004. And whenever I tell people this, they always get so shocked. For those who didn't know, somebody in the chat wrote it. Soulja Boy didn't come out to 07. 06, 07, somewhere around that time. Gboot2786 got it correct. He said it first. YouTube got founded based off of the incident that happened at the 2004 Super Bowl where Janet Jackson's shirt had got ripped off and it exposed her nipple. Because many people had kept wanting to see that, but there was no platform for people to go watch it. Like they could only watch it whenever newscasts came on talking about it. But that's what prompted the founding of YouTube. For those of you who didn't know. And the least they could have did was give Janet some checks. After all, it was that incident that caused them to start one of the largest social media platforms. Because let's be real here. When that happened, everybody kept trying to find that video. But they completely scrubbed the airwaves of it. Unfortunately, after that, her career kind of tanked. Thanks to what's his face, Molester Moonves. Yeah, he when that happened, he made sure that she couldn't go to anything that was connected to CBS. She couldn't even go to the Grammys, and the Grammys was literally like a week later. Shotgun said a titty led to the founding of YouTube, a black titty, and now they're trying to run us off. You know what's so interesting? You said that because I can use that apply what you just said to banks. Many banks like J.P. Morgan, which by the way just got busted with $1.3 billion worth of cocaine on one of its cargo ships. I wonder how they got there. A lot of these banks got founded on the backs of slavery, but they want to shut black people out from getting certain loans. Make it make sense. I could understand why CBS would have like went after her because of that. It was an accident, but it was during a worldwide telecast where many people where it was considered a family event. And I'm sure after that happened, CBS's phones was ringing off the hook that night. They probably were ringing all the way into the next day. And that was only the halftime show. They was probably like, what the hell is going on over there? We're about to lose millions of dollars. You need to clean this up. And that's probably why she could not do anything connected to CBS again for a while. But of course, Molester Moonves had a hand in that. And all the while that was going on, Molester Moonves was dealing with his own discretions as well. Like sleeping with Julie Chen, who was not his wife. I don't know. I don't know why people were so upset. They act like they never seen a titty a day in their life. Yes, if y'all did not know, Julie Chen was the mistress. She was the side chick. That's why in my videos when I'm talking about Julie Chen, I always call her side chick Chen. Molester Moonves was married and he left his wife to be with Julie Chen. How ironic that when he divorced his first wife, he ended up marrying Julie Chen merely months later. It's because they were messing around while he was married to his first wife. So basically, Julie Chen is a homewrecker. And it doesn't surprise me that she didn't say anything about what was going on with her husband, but she had all this stuff to say about Camille Cosby and Bill Cosby and talking about how could she stay with this man and why he was doing this and everything like that. But then it came out that her husband, Molester Moonves, was doing all this extra stuff with all these other loose people, and then she ends up all she does is ends up leaving the talk. If y'all saw how Julie Chen looked back in the day when she was just getting started in her career, she looked like the typical Asian that worked in a like maybe like a Japanese bathhouse. It wasn't until she got with Molester Moonves for a few years and got some of his money that she got her nip tuck. Got her eyes a little bit open more. But if you look at Julie Chen back in the day and Julie Chen now, they look like two different people. She basically tried to make herself look more Americanized for white zaddy. But I'm about to get off of here. I talked about what I wanted to talk about as a topic, and then of course I went all the way around the world and back in 80 days, like how Professor Black Truth said it. But it was a good discussion nonetheless. I wish it was more people in the room, but I know why it wasn't, because YouTube hates sending out the notifications when I go live, but that's okay. Shout out to the people that were here. Shout out to the people that subscribed. Excuse me. I don't know when I'm gonna do the next one, but when I do, it'll be a very interesting topic. There will be of course, there will not be a 9 o'clock upload because it's after 9, and this was taking the place of that. Deckman99 said Julie Chen is a hot mess. Yes, that's what she's a hot mess. But like I was saying, y'all enjoy the rest of your night. I was about to say to enjoy the rest of your weekend, realizing that tomorrow is Friday. I was off today, so that's why it feels like that. But I enjoyed the conversation. I will talk to you all in the next one.